Hello Leafs Nation, I'm Rick Scarborough and you're watching Blue and White Weekly, where we bring you weekly updates on the Leafs and the hockey world at large. This week is our annual performance assessments, and so I'm joined by our executive producer, Rachel Richmond, but that's not what's important. What's important is we have a
I think it's very important, Rick.
I'm sorry?
My presence here, your performance assessment, I think it's very important.
No, it's just it's a thing that I say to open up.
Do you value your job, Rick? That's what I thought. Now let's get into the news.
Before we get into the games of the week, let's take a look at some news from around the hockey world. Alex Ovechkin made history on Friday night as he tied Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record of 894 with a 2-goal performance against the Chicago Blackhawks. He has the chance to pass Gretzky and set the new record tomorrow night against the Islanders on Long Island. Ovechkin did set a record on Friday, however, that not too many people are talking about, as he passed Jaromir Jagr for most game-winning goals in NHL history with 136. Everyone loves a family affair in the NHL, whether it's a father and son duo, uncle and nephew, or brother and brother. And we're about to get a new chapter in the brother and brother story, as the Colorado Avalanche signed Taylor McCarr to a 1-year entry-level deal for next season. That's right, Cale Makar's younger brother is joining the Avalanche after being drafted by them in the 7th round in 2021. And what we all thought was a late April Fool's joke, the NHL and Rogers announced an extension to their Canadian broadcast deal on Wednesday. For further details, we'll send it now to our ringside reporter, Riley Roberts. Thanks very much, Rick. And that's right. Wednesday saw Rogers and the NHL announce a 12-year extension to their partnership that sees Sportsnet as the primary home for the NHL in Canada. The partnership begins in the 2026-27 season when the initial deal between the two companies that was signed in 2013 runs out and will go until 2037-38. Rogers will be paying out $11 billion for these rights, and to put that in perspective for you, that's over double what Disney paid to acquire Lucasfilm. But money and numbers aside, what does this actually mean for the future of hockey? Well, the league and Rogers say that it means fewer regional blackouts on Sportsnet Plus and more national coverage of games across Canada. They also promote out-of-market regional games, meaning folks in the West can watch games in the East, and vice versa. Sportsnet will also continue to have exclusive coverage of the NHL Draft, the All-Star Game, special events such as the Four Nations Face-Off, and every game of the Stanley Cup playoffs. More will become clear as we get closer to the deal becoming active in 2 years, so for now, I'll send it back to you, Rick.
That was a fantastic report, Riley. I love the work you've been doing.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Richmond.
Have you ever thought about doing more for the company, expanding your skill set?
What did you have in mind?
Have you ever thought about anchoring? You have the charisma, and the people love you.
Oh, well, thank you. The thought has crossed my mind, but we have an anchor, Rick, remember?
For now.
I fear for my job. And Riley's life. And now let's get into the games of the week. Coming off a California road trip where the Leafs climbed to the top of the Atlantic Division, it's time to defend that position against the Florida Panthers at home on Wednesday. It was announced in warm-ups that the Panthers would be without captain Sasha Barkov as he dealt with a day-to-day injury, adding to the list of missing Panthers, which also includes Matthew Tkachuk, who continues to deal with an injury from the Four Nations face-off, and Aaron Ekblad, who is still serving his suspension for the use of performance-enhancing drugs. After a back-and-forth first period not quite dominated by either team, the Panthers open up the second, scoring almost immediately as Gustav Forsling wires one past Anthony Stolarz, and Florida's up 1-0. That's okay though, because before the period's end, Nylander and Tavares connect on a brilliant play that's so unlikely to happen, you'd almost think they drew it up. Willie collects a loose puck at the far side of the circle and blasts it into the slot, not quite on net, where Amulet owner and certified tap-in merchant John Tavares is waiting patiently to send it home and tie the game. Later on in the third, the top line is applying pressure in the Florida zone. After a few good passes and chances, both Matthew Knies and Austin Matthews end up below the slot battling for possession when a loose puck squeaks out to a waiting and undefended Mitch Marner, who fires it past Bobrovsky, and the Leafs have the lead. They'd build on that lead mere minutes later as Marner springs Knies on a not-quite breakaway as he's hounded by Niko Mikkola. However, Knies beats Mikkola and Bobrovsky and makes it 3-1. 5 minutes left in the game, the Leafs have a 2-goal lead. We're all sitting nice and comfortable. Except this is the Leafs. Holmberg gets the gate on a tripping call. Sam Reinhart brings the Panthers within 1 on the power play. I nearly have a heart attack, and the Leafs hang on for a 3-2 win to collect a massive 2 points and build their lead atop the Atlantic. And with this win, the Toronto Maple Leafs clinch a playoff spot for the 9th straight year, and with the Bruins being eliminated from playoff contention on Saturday night, hold sole possession of the longest active playoff streak in the league, despite only making it out of the first round once in those 9 years. After that, a 3-day break before the Columbus Blue Jackets came to town. Coming into this game, Columbus is still locked in the Eastern wildcard race, just 4 points back from the bottom seed Montreal Canadiens. A seemingly mundane shot from a Blue Jacket that got blocked by Chris Tanev was actually a piece of history. It was Tanev's 177th block this season, and that will give him the Maple Leafs record for single-season blocked shots, passing the previous mark set by Carl Gunnarsson. It's not a name I've heard in a while, I'll be honest. A Blue Jackets giveaway in their own zone halfway through the first leads to Nick Robertson picking up the game's first goal, and he double-dip in the second to put the Leafs up 2-0. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We need to scratch this guy more often, not because he's a bad player, but because he always goes crazy the game after getting healthy scratched. Robertson was the only guy putting 2 up on the board as Nylander scored the Leafs' 3rd and 4th goal exactly 3 minutes and 10 seconds apart. And Austin Matthews would add one of his own, and the Leafs make a statement in their 4th straight win, 5-0 the final score. And with that, let's take a look at the Atlantic Division standings at the end of this week. The Panthers and Lightning both clinched playoff spots this week after the Leafs did, but it's the Leafs who still hold a multi-game lead on both those teams. Looking ahead in the week, the Leafs head to Florida for a set of key back-to-back games in the Atlantic race. On Tuesday, it's a rematch with the Panthers in Sunrise, followed swiftly by a battle with the Lightning in Tampa on Wednesday. And then it's back home on Saturday for the final hockey night in Canada of the season against the Montreal Canadiens. We'll have all those games for you next week, plus so much more. But for now, thank you very much for watching Leafs Nation. Be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, go Leafs, go! We'll see you next week.